Welcome back to the franchise tag scouting department. Today I'm going to be going over my scouting report on cornerback out of Alabama, Kool-Aid McKinstry. As a preface for all of my scouting reports, I'm new to this. This is my first year doing this, but I do look to grow my understanding of the game, and I look forward to any comments you leave below of players to break down, any critiques you might have on my analysis of a player, and we can have a discussion on that in the comments below if you reach out with any, gripes about a certain player's evaluation from my perspective. But with that out of the way, let's get into Kool-Aid McKinstry's background. Kool-Aid McKinstry is 199 pounds, 5'11", and was a 3-year starter at Alabama after being a 5-star recruit out of high school. In 2022, he was targeted 80 times and allowed just 37 receptions for 352 yards, 1 touchdown, and reeled in 1 interception to go with that, and had 16 pass breakups, which led college football in 2022. All of those numbers had drop-offs in 2023. He was targeted just 39 times, he allowed 19 catches, 205 yards, 1 touchdown again, and only had 4 pass breakups. The combine, it was revealed that he had a Jones foot fracture, and due to that, he didn't participate in any drills, any of the timed 40s, anything like that. Let's hope that he's able to perform at his pro day that's upcoming. That should be around the release of this video. So we'll see if he tests well based on that. But outside of his background, I'm going to get into that film analysis part, breaking down some of the pros. Kool-Aid McKinstry is fantastic at staying in phase with wide receivers, whether it be inside, outside, press, or off coverage. He sticks like glue in man, and he's a smart zone defender. He has great technique, and he allows wide receivers to use chop moves and head fakes and all of that, but he doesn't bite on them. And that allows him to stay in phase with them because he's going to be able to get a hand on them when they actually do make their cut, and not by throwing a hand early and missing them because they're releasing and they chopped and they faked them out and he's throwing to the wrong shoulder. He bides his time. He waits for them to reveal themselves, and then he targets to stay in phase with that contact. Played a good amount of press at Alabama, but also what visually came off to me as a deep cover 3 zone as the outside corner. In those press situations, he didn't shove at the line. He wasn't physical at the line. It was a soft shoe press, and he played it well. He's quick to respond to players entering his zone when it comes to zone coverage, and he surveys the field well to find those oncoming threats to his zone. And if there is no one, then he locks in on the quarterback and he's able to decipher, all right, where might the ball be going? Is it going to be coming to a route that might be headed my way? Is this quarterback going to scramble? Things of that nature. He's smart when he plays those zones. He also communicates well with his zone coverage, carrying a wide receiver right into someone else's zone, but not leading them into it and not letting go of them before they exit his zone. He is smart about his area of the field. He sticks to it, and he won't be caught straying from it. He's always going to return to it to cover the threats to his zone. He also plays the quarterback scramble drill pretty well. Whenever a quarterback's outside of the pocket trying to create, he knows, okay, this is an athletic quarterback. I'm going to make sure I stick on this wide receiver because they could throw it over my head. They could fake me out. I'm going to make sure that they don't have that opening and let the other defenders go and chase the scramble. While on the flip side, oh, this is an unathletic quarterback. I know that he's just going to tuck it and run out of bounds, so I want to coerce him to go out of bounds with this run. When given cushion, he's patient enough when opening his hips to do so at a perfect time to not leave room for any comeback or hitch routes to really torch him, while also not allowing himself to lose ground heavily on faster wide receivers who are running deep routes on him. It happened a handful of times, but as I said, he keeps a good enough cushion where it doesn't happen constantly. But with all of his outright pros out of the way, we can get into some of the muddier parts of his game. Kool-Aid plays a variety of releases well, but when manned up against inside release routes, like drags or slants, or really just man beaters, he can be left in the dust. One particular rep that comes to mind is against Adonai Mitchell in the red zone against Texas in 2023. He may have anticipated a mid-zone safety help on that. I will acknowledge that, but it also felt like there wasn't a real burst of speed to recover once he got beat on that route, and that he doesn't have that recoverability in those kind of tight red zone situations. On that note, Kool-Aid seems to be a lacking athlete. Nothing outright bad, nothing that stands out as great though, and he's just kind of an average speed guy, average athleticism, and couple that with his lacking size at 5'11", you could worry that within the league, when he's going against that bigger, more athletic group of wide receivers, you might see more games end up like his 2023 Texas tape, which out of the tape I was able to view was easily his worst tape. Adonai Mitchell, bigger tight ends, he was getting kind of dominated by those bigger receiving threats. And as I mentioned, he doesn't have a physicality within his press reps because he plays that soft shoe. He doesn't shove at the line. And by being more passive in that regard, with his lacking athleticism, faster wide receivers will be allowed to just have a swift release to run right by him on those like just go routes. They will be able to finesse him and get right past him, and because he's not shoving, because he's not being physical at the line to really stop that, he'll get blown by. And without the speed to recover and that burst to make sure that he's not getting fully torched against the DK Metcalfs of the league, he will struggle. At the end of the day, I do still quite like his play style. His ability to play that island cover 3 corner will make him a must draft for teams that are in need of that corner 1 spot that and run that scheme. The most obvious player comp is Pat Surtain II, but that's just because it's an Alabama corner who plays in a cover 3 scheme, and it's right there in front of my face. I won't be serious with that comp because I don't anticipate Kool-Aid within the first 2 seasons having top 3 corner. He's not going to be in the top 3 corner hype talks, whatever you want to say. I just don't envision that for really any player out of the draft. It's not common. Kool-Aid will have to do some proving with his athleticism. And granted, I haven't seen his pro day, so hopefully he tests well there with a sub 4.540, something that really just stands out to kind of quell those thoughts, quell those worries. But outside of that, if he wants to serve that cornerback 1 role, he's going to be going against the Tyreek Hills, Jalen Waddles. Like, I'm just naming fast guys at this point, but he's going to need to show that he can keep up and that he can play in a league that's filled with those guys and not end up being, another guy who's just not that upper echelon speed to play that corner 1 spot. For now, that's all I have on Kool-Aid McKinstry. Leave a comment down below on any players you want me to get around to scouting, and I will make sure I put them at the top of my list. I prefer offensive players. That's what I can get most of my hands on for film, but defensively, I still wanted to get my toes wet, kind of get into some of these evaluations. So I did target Latu, I did target Kool-Aid, and I do have an upcoming video on Terry and Arnold as well to kind of round out this Alabama class as well. I do want to get Dallas Turner, but we'll see about that. And that's all I have for this scouting report. Deuces.